You know that groundbreaking study you just read about online? The one that could change, well, everything? Before it ever got to you, it had to survive this incredible, intense journey, a sort of trial by fire, designed to separate the good ideas from the not so good ones. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that entire process, the world of peer review.
So let's say you see a headline that promises some miracle cure. It sounds amazing, right? Almost too amazing. How do we know it's a real breakthrough and not just, noise? Who are the people that act as the gatekeepers between a wild claim and a proven fact?
Well, that's where peer review comes in. Think of it as the ultimate quality control for science and knowledge. A research paper is basically put on trial, and the jury is made up of its peers, other top experts in that exact same field. Their one job? To pick it apart, check its quality, make sure it's original, and see if it's scientifically valid before it ever gets published. And it's really important to see the difference here. On one side, you've got the author who is communicating their new findings. And on the other, you have these totally independent experts who are there to verify those findings. So one is the act of creation, and the other is the act of validation. And you absolutely cannot have credible science without both. Okay, so you've poured months, maybe even years into your research. You've written the paper, you've checked it 100 times, and you finally hit that submit button. But guess what? That is not the finish line. Nope, it's the starting gate. Your paper's journey has only just begun. So first, you, the author, submit your manuscript to a journal. The editor gives it an initial check. Now, this isn't a deep scientific dive just yet. It's more of a first pass. Does it even fit the journal's topic? Is it formatted right? Is it relevant? A lot of papers actually get rejected right here. But if it passes this first hurdle, then and only then is it sent out to the expert reviewers. And now, we get to the main event. Your paper is in the hands of these anonymous experts who are going to put every single claim, every data point under a microscope. So what exactly are they looking for? They are literally stress testing the entire foundation of your work. Is the research designed properly? Is the method they used sound? Can we trust the data? They're following your logic step by step to see if your evidence really backs up your conclusions. But it's not just about being correct, it also has to be new. They're asking the biggest question of all. Does this paper actually move our field forward? So after all that intense evaluation, the reviewer gives one of 4 recommendations. A straight accept with no changes? Incredibly rare. A reject? Yeah, that happens. The vast majority of papers that make it through land in the middle. Either accept with minor revisions or the very common revise and resubmit, which means there's some serious work to do. So getting feedback isn't failure. It's actually a totally normal and constructive part of the game. But here's the thing. This whole trial doesn't always look the same. There are actually different ways to do peer review, each with its own ideas about the best way to get to the truth, and each with its own pros and cons. Now, while there are a few different models out there, the 2 big ones you're going to see most often, especially in the major journals, are single-blind and double-blind review. And it all boils down to one simple question. Who knows who? All right, let's break these down. In a single-blind review, the reviewers know who the author is, but the author doesn't know who the reviewers are. This lets the reviewers be brutally honest without any fear of payback. In double-blind, nobody knows who anyone is. It's a great way to reduce bias based on things like reputation or where someone works. And then you've got open review, where all the cards are on the table. Everyone's identity is known, it's super transparent, but it can sometimes make reviewers a little hesitant to be too critical. So you see, each system is this delicate balancing act between honesty, fairness, and transparency. Getting that revise and resubmit decision, I know, it can feel a little rough. But honestly, it is an incredible opportunity. It's like you're getting a free roadmap from world-class experts on exactly how to make your research even stronger. The right mindset here is really everything. This isn't an attack on your work, it's a collaboration. When you approach it with patience and a real desire to grow, it really does become a partnership that makes your final paper so much better. So how do you actually do it? The key is to be systematic. First, read every single comment. Then, and this is important, step away for a day to let it sink in. Then you come back and write a super detailed, point-by-point response letter addressing every single thing they mentioned. If you happen to disagree with a point, that's okay, but you have to back it up with solid evidence. And finally, you document every single change you make in the manuscript so they can easily see what you've done. And here are some pro tips for that response. always start by thanking the reviewers for their time and their brainpower. Keep it organized, be evidence-based, but maybe most importantly, keep your tone professional and grateful. You have to remember, these people are volunteers who are giving you their expertise for free to make your work better. Okay, so beyond all the mechanics of how this works, there's a foundation that holds the entire system together. We're talking about ethics. These are the non-negotiable rules of the road that every single credible researcher has to follow. And rule number one, the absolute most important one, is originality. Your work has to be your own, period. Plagiarism isn't just a simple mistake. It's a career-ending foul that destroys all credibility. But that's just the first pillar of a much bigger ethical code. This code is really all about integrity. It means reporting your data honestly and never, ever making things up. It means being transparent and disclosing any conflicts of interest that might create bias. It's about giving authorship credit where it's due. And it means you don't do something called salami slicing. That's when you try to chop up one single study into a bunch of smaller, weaker papers. So, at the end of the day, peer review is our best line of defense for scientific integrity. Now, it's a human process, so of course it's not perfect, but it's the most reliable tool we've got to make sure that what gets published is solid. And that leaves us with one last really big question. As science itself changes and gets faster, how does this process need to change with it? What does the future of quality control for research even look like?